Hi, I'm Jake, and welcome to another episode of Have Camera Will Travel. So, if you had been following my story, I was basically heartbroken and back in Afghanistan. And I had a pretty emotional one because it was really hard to sort of deal with. And I'm glad I'm back. I actually did a full episode and I forgot to check if the audio is working. But this time I did check and now the audio is working. So this is going to be obviously the episode that I'm going to release. Here I am. I'm stuck in Afghanistan. Julie had left and I didn't know what to do with myself. Being pretty heartbroken, I just took everything and anything that was going my way. And I fell into, I guess, an addiction of being an alcoholic, trying different drugs. I smoked opium and it just felt relaxing and made me basically gone. I didn't want to feel that pain. And I got to make a disclaimer here and a warning. If you can't deal with suicidal thoughts or horrible shit, please probably skip this. But I like to believe that things happen for you, not to you, and I obviously didn't die, so but I'm somebody that has been, I wouldn't say a victim, but I cause self-harm to myself when I'm heartbroken. And this has happened to me with my first ever girlfriend. I had a really bad problem with girlfriends and partners cheating on me, and nothing feels better than smashing your head in. So you can try and forget. Obviously, this doesn't really work. It's still painful. You just end up putting yourself in a different type of pain. But that was the sort of position that I was in. Now, I didn't, in Afghanistan, a kilo of opium is about $50 US. Obviously it's got a massive markup by the time it gets to America or gets to Australia or anywhere else. That's how much people will sell you. Generally, people give you a tiny bit, like literally you talk to friends, somebody's bound to have some and is willing to give you for free. A kilo of hash is about $16 really. These inflation of prices for traveling and smuggling is basically what makes them so expensive. So getting hash, it was super easy. Most of your friends had it and was happy to give it to you. Opium, if you could probably just get like a tiny little ball and it'd just be a couple of bucks. You smoke it generally in a hookah pipe. I'm not really into heroin, so injecting myself was definitely not something I wanted to do. But just smoking into a pipe seemed like the easiest way to just forget. And that went on for a short time, and you end up running into weird people. Now, Afghanistan is filled with, basically, there's journalists, there's humanitarian aid workers, and then you've got the working class. You've got mercenaries, you've got businessmen. Now, I'm somebody who likes to drink and go to bars, so I meet lots and lots of different people. So meeting mercenaries was one thing. And getting introduced to guns is another thing. Now, being from Australia, we don't really have access to guns or to use guns unless you have a license or you have a general interest. So yeah, it was never really around guns, but I soon found myself owning free guns. People just giving me, I had a Norinco. It was a Chinese large sort of handgun, and I had a Glock 17, and I had a Taurus PP7. Different various friends end up giving me these guns. I picked them up for different reasons, and mainly because there was a lot of home invasions and people were getting invaded. There was some foreigner women who had been raped, and foreigners who had been beaten, and I definitely did not want to be one of them. And the more I wanted to look after our community of expats. So if somebody was in danger, just give me a call. I will ride down on my motorbike and I will gun these people down. Saying that, you end up getting on American bases and go to shooting ranges and shoot. And I'll always remember, there was one time actually, this is actually quite a funny story. There was a band called White City, and the lead singer, bass player, Ruth, I'd become really good friends with her. She helped me get through, I guess, that trauma. She wanted to learn how to box, but I gave the suggestion of let's go shooting. So I brought 2 guns and we took our motorcycle out to the desert and got a whole bunch of like beer cans and we were going to shoot at it, and we were shooting a few bullets and definitely looked like the police were going to come. One of the guns was probably not registered, and so I was like, oh fuck, we should go. So you'd think that in the middle of nowhere in Afghanistan, the cops would probably not turn up or people would not turn up, but lo and behold, people did. Anyway, they started chasing. I think they actually started firing at us. I'm not sure if they were firing at us or trying to make us stop. But I had a Honda VFR 750, and I literally went to over 200 kilometers an hour on that thing. And Ruth held on to me for dear life. I think her theory was if she gets shot, the bullet's going to go through her and they go through me because I'm a fucking idiot. And I raced that bike so fucking fast at 200 kilometers an hour, and we outrun them. And I ran out of petrol. But lucky enough, it was really close to a petrol station, so I managed to get it in there and fill it up. And we thought about going to Bugram Base because that's where we'd kind of ridden all the way out to, and then we realized, no, let's try and ride back to Kabul. And we're riding through, there's a big gigantic checkpoint that goes into Kabul city, and the cops there, they were checking through, and I had like a little secret stash in my bag where I could put the handguns and stuff in, and it was really difficult to sort of find it, or you wouldn't know that this little secret compartment existed. Unless you obviously held the bag and realized how heavy the bag was. But yeah, that's where the ammo and the 2 handguns was. And Ruth was really charming, and she talked them and they smiled and stuff, and they let us go. Yeah, that was kind of insane. But there's no real moral to this story. Just be charming. Be charming. It gets you out for a lot of shit. Anyway, I met a few people who worked in security. I had my friend Z. Z wanted to get into security and make some money. There is a backstory I will probably go into about our India adventure. And basically, it's for another thing when I start talking about my film company and what I do for my film company. But this stuff here is all about playing with guns. So, yeah, we got into the security business. I was more of a sort of middleman. Well, and Z was my interpreter. So we we did these weird negotiations with, well, I can't really say that they're the Taliban, but they are warlords that sort of hold off, control a particular road. And they want a certain amount of money from companies to be able to bring, especially fuel from Pakistan to Kabul, to Kandahar, Ghazni, all of these places. And so we went and met up with these guys, and they wanted more money than they usually get. So we kind of like almost pay about 15,000 USD for not getting any of the oil tankers hit by, guns, bullets, rockets. But it is quite a thing getting extorted for money in Afghanistan for the security of petrol. And I talked to my boss, and he said, fuck that. We are not going to pay anything. They can go tell them to go fuck themselves. And I was talking to Z, and Z is like looking at me. He's like, "Ooh, I don't know how they'd feel if I told them to fuck off. Yeah, they would be very offended and probably kill us." So Z was really good. He actually backed out of it, managed to convince them that it was more money than we needed, that we had on us, and we couldn't pay it, so we had to go back and come back. And they kind of wanted Z to stay, but Z managed to obviously convince them that we needed to go and come back. And then so we geared up. There was at least 12 people working in private security in armored vehicles, and they all rolled with M4 machine guns. I find mostly contractors big fat, bit dumb, but they got guns. Yeah, they all come from an ex-military sort of background, but yeah, they're pretty much in it for the money. Me, I used most of my money in helping develop projects. Z had a project called Schools of the Moon, which I will go on to about in another time as well. I need to dedicate a whole story about Z, because Z was my brother from another mother, as he'd always say, and he was the most amazing person in my life when it comes to Afghanistan, and I do not appreciate him enough, and part of me feels like I failed him, but that is for another story. Anyway, I had it in my idea that it was great to ride my motorcycle while doing security, and I had one of my handguns attached to the gas tank of my bike. I had DRZ 400, that was my normal bike with a large tank. I called this bike Furiosa. Oh, actually, no, this is not Furiosa. Furiosa is my BMW that I had in Syria, but that's another story as well when I get to the Syrian section. I'm not sure if I really had a name. It was the Yellow Peril. I had a yellow tank, and then I end up spray painting it black, so because of all the trouble I used to probably get with the police, so in case they sort of mentioned that they were looking for a blue motorcycle. So the whole DIZ got painted black. Anyway, it was we're riding along. I remember my boss telling me that if we lose 2 oil tankers, you're probably not going to get paid. So do whatever it fucking takes to make sure these insurgents fuck off. And so, yeah, I rode alongside with my motorbike, and they did come, the Taliban did come. They were up on the hill, and they fired a few shots, and the gas tanks, they didn't catch up on fire, but, you know, it's fucking scary. But they came rolling down on motorbikes as well. And usually there's one person riding and the other person has an AK-47 or an RPG. And I pretty much got them behind me and it's like, oh, fuck. And I ditch it into the sand and ditch myself off the bike. I, lucky enough, pull out my handgun and I just start firing. And I'm a pretty shit shot, to tell you the truth. And somewhere along the line, I actually hit one of the guys in the chest, the driver, and they crashed their motorcycle. And they're down. That dude had the bazooka. And it's like a holy fuck moment. Z's like driving in a vehicle and there's security and stuff pulling up, and they smash into the two guys that are down with the armored vehicle. It's like a SUV generally, like a large Hilux. And yeah, we end up firing at whatever was left over, and they fucked off for now. And we got all of the trucks back to the Ghazni base where they needed to go, the Ghazni US base. I'm trying to remember, the Ghazni US base has beautiful, there's US soldiers, and there's, I think, the Czech Republic and Lithuania or something like that. Anyway, their female soldiers are by far the hottest soldiers on base, on any base. And it was a shit show, definitely. And I kind of really didn't want to get into it more, but one of his bosses was with female journalists, and they wanted to go, and she wanted to go interview the Taliban, so they got Z to go with her, and she ended up getting kidnapped, and the Afghan government believe that Z's in on it, and they end up detaining him and putting him in prison for a while, and that was pretty fucked up. But I think the governments end up paying a fair amount of money for her release, and she did get released. And lucky enough, Z didn't spend too long in jail. But I'm very glad that he was out. But yeah, his boss basically got up and left Afghanistan. And yeah, that was some craziness. And do I have any other crazy stories that involves motorbikes? I had, with the Honda VFR 750, I had some police officers come up to me, and they're literally asking me if I could race them. And I thought, okay, fine, I'll race the Afghan police. And I had full gear, so I had full leather gear. I had a very good motorcycle Dainese racing helmet. I love that helmet. And I think I went to about 270 kilometers an hour, and they were in their Ford Ranger, brand new Ford Ranger, and they're at about 240, and we're burling down Airport Road, and I'm fucking loving it. I realized we're coming up to a checkpoint, and I was like, oh, there is no way I'm going to stop this vehicle, the VFR, in time. I'm going to have to go through this checkpoint. Lucky enough, I think the cops messaged the checkpoint that we were coming through. hot. And I go through that checkpoint, and there is a roundabout filled with traffic, and I just lucky enough managed to stop before going into traffic because I would have been fucked. Anyway, all the cops are clapping and they go, Beshak, Beshak, it was like, that was so good, oh my God, can we ride your bike? And I think I just shat my pants. So I pretty much gave the keys to one of the officers, like, go for a ride up and down. Don't kill yourself. And I needed a moment to clean my underwear probably. There was actually another moment. Not all the time the police are great. And one of the police officers, most of the motorcycles, the Japanese motorcycles that come in and the dirt bikes that come in, they are usually stolen from another country and they're brought over in bits and pieces and then reassembled. So, for example, my Honda VFR 750 had Washington plates on it. So there's no real way of registering these bikes, and the police kind of know that, but they kind of want some bribe. You're never fully sure if they want a bribe, and then they kind of work out you're a foreigner, and some people are assholes about it. Anyway, one cop really wanted to arrest me while I was going to work. I said, no, I can't give you my bike. I need to go to work. And anyway, he decided to lop some punches at me. And I'm wearing my helmet, and he punches me in the helmet, and I take my helmet off, and I was like, what the fuck? And I come at him, and he punches me in my forehead, and I close my forehead in, and it sucks in like that. And he ends up breaking his fingers on my head. And then we both get reprimanded, and we go into the Central Police Station. And I'm there and giving my case to like a senior police officer who could speak English about what's happened. And I'm quite intelligent. I do know that these bikes are really, you can't really register them. There's nothing with the Ministry of Transport that can register a Japanese motorcycle. You can do it for the small 125s, but there's no real paperwork for secondhand Japanese motorbikes. And so I'm having this conversation. And then one of our employees, I was working for Skaterstand at the time, and one of the employees there, Mama Mumtaz, this big lady, her husband is the police chief of that district. So she managed to talk to him. He's pretty much gave me the AOK to let me go. And there's sort of back and forth, me and the police officer. He's apologizing and I'm apologizing to him for my behavior. And I grab his two fingers, they're still broken, and I push it like that, and I push him back in. And he screams. But his fingers move again, and he's quite happy. Fucking crazy. Anyway, I've yacked on for a bit, so this is on the 24th minute. So I'm going to leave it there. I didn't really talk so much about suicide, but I will in the next one. That sounds really terrible. But there'll be more about my story and more about Afghanistan before I could get to Somalia. So next episode probably going to be about Somalia. And how I got stabbed in my face and my ear was sideways, and